Hello everyone and welcome to today's Chrissy B Show. So we're going to be speaking about life after divorce. Now many people unfortunately end up going through this experience, and for some it's very traumatic, and it feels even like someone's died. They feel a gaping hole, they don't know how to cope, and many end up even getting very depressed. So we're going to be showing you that it is possible to have life after divorce and be happy even after this experience. So we're going to be having a couple of real life stories today, and that will be of Shireen Shangu and Lisa Marie Bradnock, who both experienced divorce at quite a young age. And they're going to be telling us about how they actually moved on with their lives and are happy today. One of them has remarried and one of them is still single but open to a new relationship. So, and also I'll be giving my tips at the end of today's program about how to rebuild yourself after a breakup. But first, it's the news with the lovely Excel Ashimomo. Hello, Excel, with all her papers spread all over the desk today.
Well, hello,
How
Chrissy.
are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Not stroppy today, are you? Very
No.
in good mood.
Indeed,
Yes.
as always.
Okay, so just before we get to the news, so we do have a few tweets that I'd like to read out about divorce. And Sue Atkins says, separating from your ex-partner is about reclaiming yourself as an individual and going from the we mentality to the I mentality. And Dr. Karen Finn says, remind yourself every day that even though you're getting divorced, you're a wonderful person. And divorcetodating.com says, have fun dating rather than looking for a new spouse immediately. And this one's quite a sad one. This one's from Bobby Joe, who says, son gutted me tonight. I was teasing and said, what could you possibly need that you don't have? And he said, my mum and dad together. Ooh, that's quite difficult, isn't it? Mm-hmm. But okay, so those are a few tweets, and now we do have the news with Excel.
Yes, hello,
Got
Chrissy.
lots of things there for us, haven't you?
Yeah, I do had to look up some statistics actually about divorce, and because as you identified in the beginning, the Office for National Statistics come up with these data from time to time to look at everything in terms of the changes in population and all that. And I actually came across something quite interesting. To sort of summarize to some 10 important facts about modern day divorce as it's talked about. Apparently, there are fewer married couples that are getting divorced, because in the last, say, about 6-7 years, the divorce rate has apparently been stable.
Okay.
It has been the lowest rate in the UK since the 70s. The divorce rate had peaked in the mid-90s at 14 per 1,000 married population. So there is now, sort of like it has stayed stable, although we still obviously have divorces.
Yeah.
The second fact, surprising fact, was that married women in their late 20s are the most likely to get divorced. And so it's apparently that's the age range 25 to 29 at the highest rate for 23.6 per 1,000 married population. That's over twice the average. And also, divorcing couples are getting older. Excuse me. Apparently, the average ages for men and women getting divorced are 44.7 for men and 42.2 for women. And the ages have been consistently getting older for the past 30 years. I mean, something of interest, I think in 2010, Al Gore, who's one of the, I think he was he Bill Clinton's vice or something? One of the politicians anyway in America. He actually divorced his wife for 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and that seemed to knock everyone.
That's harsh, isn't it? 40
exactly.
years. Wow.
That seemed to knock everyone thinking like, whoa, what's going on here? And, apparently they'd grown apart. Apparently they said there was no third party involved, no adultery or cheating or whatever. They just simply grew apart. But after 40 years of growing together, what would make one grow apart? But, at the end of the day, each case is individual, I suppose. And also, marriages are getting longer. The average marriage length before divorce is granted now is 11.5 years, whereas it used to be 8.9 back in 1985. I know.
It's like a bit of a funny statistic, isn't it? So
I know.
they're lasting a couple of years longer.
Well,
so what's the point of
exactly.
measuring that? They're still ending at the end of the day. The point is they should last until death, maybe, or something.
Yeah. But actually, it's something I noticed. I can't remember. I forgot. I knew I was going to bring that, but it completely escaped me. Whereas, marriage vows used to be till death do us part.
Yeah.
Now it's been amended
No.
to something like, I heard someone getting married the other day, and her vows were for as long as we're married. It was words to
that's
that
a
effect. Yeah. I think it
See,
was.
there's where it's all going wrong then.
For as long,
so I
promise to be faithful to you, to do this, to do that, for as long as we're married.
Oh no, that's terrible. I didn't know they changed it.
For instead of, it used to be to death do us part, but then of course people would say, you promised till death do us part, and all that business. So I suppose to give you that sort of get out clause, I said I'll be faithful, I said I'll take this and I'll take that in sickness and in health for as long as we're married. So there you go, we're not married anymore, bye.
Yeah.
So, you can kind of see it in a way, I suppose society is in effect influencing how even things are run nowadays, I suppose. Interestingly, it says here, another fact is fewer couples are divorcing on the basis of adultery. Fewer, okay. Yeah. So there are fewer adultery reasons for divorce. And he also said, the next fact says divorced people are less likely to get remarried, unfortunately. A greater proportion of divorces are being granted to men. So men are making the filing first.
Okay.
The other fact is the 7-year itch is real. Apparently, couples have the highest chance of divorce. This is statistically they've looked at. They have the highest chance of divorce around the 7th year of their marriage, 3.2% probability in that year. But once couples have reached their silver wedding anniversary, which is 25 years, chances of divorce fall to less than 1% per year.
I suppose by then you've kind of learnt to know each other, appreciate each other, put up with the flaws and deal with things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it also says as well, the other fact is couples marrying more recently are less likely to get divorced. So those marrying, for some reason, it's looked at people who were marrying after 2006, have a 5% likelihood that they would have divorced by their 5th anniversary, compared to an 8% likelihood for those married between 1987 and 1995. I really don't understand how that works either. But something quite interesting, when I looked at the statistics as well for a particular thing, the years that peaked with the highest divorce rates were actually consistent with the years that we had recession in the UK.
Okay.
So a lot of financial problems, a lot of,
Which is a huge strain on couples, isn't it?
It's a big deal, absolutely. But also, the last fact, I've saved the best for last. Most marriages will not end in divorce.
Good, that's good to hear.
It's good to be reminded that divorce is still the least likely outcome for a marriage. 58% of marriages today will not end in divorce, and around 10% will reach their diamond wedding anniversary, which is 60 years.
Let's up that figure, guys.
Absolutely, absolutely. Something interesting that I found out in looking at reasons why people separate, it mentioned adultery, unreasonable behavior, desertion, separation for 2 years, and separation for 5 years. And I then looked into what would class, we all know what adultery is, we all know what desertion is. What would you classify as unreasonable behavior?
Could be anything, couldn't it, really? Indeed.
Apparently, it can be a case of listing the other person's faults, what you can't and can't, what you couldn't take, basically, in the relationship. And it talks about the fact that when people list their reasons in the petition for divorce, it could actually cause emotional distress because the other person doesn't want a list of their faults read out in open court. Yeah. But at the same time, there was a case that was highlighted where a man raised issues in his petition because he and his wife were having disputes over a washing machine.
Oh dear.
Yeah, a washing machine. Sorry. Maybe she put it, I don't know, was it the brand? Was it because she put the clothes on too cold, too hot? What? I don't know.
Maybe she shrunk his clothes if she was washing them.
I really don't understand how. And then
I say that because I've shrunk a couple of my husband's jumpers and he was really mad with me. But it said on the label how to wash them, and I followed the instructions, and they shrunk like a little baby cardigan.
Did you miss the part where it said hand wash only?
I might have done.
Well, there you go. So maybe you got the temperature right, but just not the method of washing, Chrissy. But I mean, this is the thing. It talks about the fact that, you know, to the person who's reading it, it appears rather banal, the reasons that are included in the petition. However, things like, for example, people having different friends and people having different hobbies that remove them from family life, you know, so they look for, you know, reasons for divorce. Again, I came across something quite interesting, only in America. Did you know that the gender of the first
Excel loves
child,
America because she goes there all the time. Yeah.
I love, but
they
also give us outrageous news, I have to say. In America, apparently, the gender of the firstborn child affects the likelihood of divorce.
Oh, how's that?
Because parents of firstborn girls are significantly more likely to divorce than parents of firstborn sons. Go figure. It was actually studied, it was actually looked into, and they found that the probability for a marriage with a firstborn...
That's a coincidence.
Well, I really don't know. What can I say?
Oh, well, we'll leave our viewers on that one to ponder over that one.
Indeed.
Excel, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And we'll see you again next time.
Certainly.
Thank you. All right, guys, so don't go away, because after the break, I'll be speaking to the lovely Shireen Shangu, who's actually been through a very, very difficult divorce that shook her to the core. And later on as well, I'll be sharing with you my own tips on how to reinvent yourself after a breakup. So do stay tuned for that also. Don't go away. Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show, and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Welcome back, everyone, and today we're talking about life after divorce. So some people have a really, really hard time and feel worthless after they've separated from their partner. So I'm going to be speaking now to my first guest, Shireen Shangu, who did go through a divorce, and a very difficult one at that. Hello, Shireen.
Hello, hi Chris, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
Very well.
All smiley and bubbly, I see, that's really good. But there wasn't, not so long ago, you were really depressed and crying about something, weren't you?
Really, really depressed.
So let's tell me about, first of all, how you met your previous partner, your ex.
Actually, we met in a youth group. We were very young. I was 17, he was 18. So first boyfriend, and I met in a youth club. Yeah, I mean, you know, just young, getting on with life, and then you kind of, you know, sparks kind of fly, and it's like, oh, I like you, and he likes me back. He actually likes me back, great. And before you knew it, we were just inseparable. We were always together. Okay. And then, so marriage, just about 2 to 3 years after just dating, we decided to get married.
Okay. Now, in those 2 to 3 years that you were together, did you ever have any signs maybe that there would be issues later on, maybe that he wasn't quite the person for you?
To be honest with you, not with him per se, because we will laugh a lot, we will joke a lot, have a lot of fun. And I think I was so caught up in the whole emotion of, don't forget, this was my first boyfriend, I never had a relationship before, so I didn't quite know how it was. Yeah. All I kind of had was the references of kind of like movies, how things should be, and he was romantic, and everything just felt wonderful. However, there were some cultural differences that we didn't want to face. There were some family issues that we didn't want to face. So there were some external
So what would you do, just
things.
avoid
the topic? We would avoid the topic, and for us it was like us against the world. It doesn't matter what anyone wants to say about it. We know how we feel, and it's all about us. It's not about anyone else.
Okay. So when you decided to get married, was it like excitement and, you know, really looking forward to it? How was that?
It was actually, the run up to the wedding was very exciting, because of course, I mean, you tell all your friends, you tell all your family, everyone's involved, and you know, it's crazy, like you're getting married, and I'm the first in my family, I'm the oldest in my family, so it was the first girl to get married. Okay. So it was very exciting, I was excited, it was wonderful. However, of course, my family side were all for it, his family side wasn't. Really? And so that was quite difficult, because while I was quite excited, I could see he was very sad about it. And I started to see some characteristics in him that made me wonder, oh my gosh, he's not dealing with this. But still I was like, no, we're getting married, we're going for it. Do you still want to get married? Yeah, we're going for it. Yeah. So But funny enough, Chris, it was only like the night before the wedding, I must have had like a meltdown. I started to really think about our relationship and where we were heading, and that we hadn't actually discussed the future at all. It was always about us having fun, enjoying, and we just couldn't see ourselves without each other. But to discuss the future, our goals, where we were going to go, what we were going to do, we hadn't had that conversation.
At all?
No, we hadn't. At all.
So what did you guys talk about?
I think we were so busy just having fun and
for 3 years, really?
Yeah, you'd be amazed. I think
Wow.
as well, don't forget that we were very young.
Yeah.
So, 17, 18, so although we were moving to 21, we always had each other, so we kind of didn't mature. That's kind of the time that you would be kind of growing into yourself and knowing your own person, isn't it? But we were just always in each other's pockets. It was always us two. I'd then have his thoughts and he would have my thoughts, and that was how we were going around in circles. So we didn't really discuss, as long as we were together, we just wanted to be together. There was this whole focus of us just living together and being together. And
So you had this meltdown
really
on the night before your wedding.
Yes.
What was going on? Like,
in my mind, I just kind of realised that, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? When I actually achieved this dream of getting married to him, what's going to happen next? We can't go on with just, having fun with each other, and there's bills to pay, there's a future, there's a dream. What are we going to do? What are we heading for? I hadn't had that conversation with him. And
did you consider at that point maybe to call it off?
I did, but it was just, all I could think about, Chris, was the fact that my family spent so much money on the wedding. Everything was set, all my friends were ready. What was I going to say to him? Oh, we haven't discussed the future, so I don't think we should do it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I didn't have a concrete thing. I just had I was just so nervous the night before. I just thought, maybe it's just nerves. But really, it was just this deep, I remember just being in so much turmoil. I was crying. My grandma knew. She had to even give me tea bags to put on my eyes the night before, because I was crying. I just felt, it didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right. Even though it felt so good for 3 years, getting to that point, I just thought, oh my gosh, I don't
isn't
really
it how
know him.
just the night before it happened, and that, because maybe those kind of feelings were coming to you before, but you just kind of shut them out.
I believe
not
so.
wanting to deal with it,
I believe
and just
so.
wanting to live in the moment rather than really thinking about your relationship.
That's it. There wasn't much thought of the relationship. And I know that sounds crazy now. Obviously, it's been years since that time. But you didn't think at that time, to be honest with you. It was really wrapped in the emotions. And I just felt, like I said, I felt so good to be with him. I couldn't think of my life not being with him. And I couldn't give him a good enough reason to not marry him. So therefore, I went ahead.
So you had your wedding day. You pulled yourself together.
Did, yes.
Went well?
It was lovely. It was a fabulous day. We had a great time.
Had you calmed down by then, or were you still
I was happy I did it. So I just thought, we've done it now.
Right.
It's a new chapter, and what we couldn't change before, we're going to change in marriage.
Okay.
So that was the new vision.
So then what went wrong after that? Because were you happy for a while?
We were happy for a while. I'd say for the first few months we were happy because it was exciting, it was all new. But then
Just for
life
the first
kicked
few
in.
months?
First few months. Life kicked in, paying bills, having responsibilities. And then, of course, I had the attitude where if there was a problem, I would just leave it. I wouldn't want to deal with it. He had the same.
Oh dear.
So it
was a ticking time bomb.
It was a
really,
ticking
wasn't
time for the both of us, because the truth of the matter is neither of us would deal with a problem, really. So, and we were dating the whole way through with this, and I hadn't seen that in him.
Yeah.
I'd seen a little bit of that, but I didn't think it was a problem. But when we got married, it became a problem, because the two of us didn't want to solve issues. And then the external things started to become big things internally for us. So, for example, the cultural differences became huge. If I, for example, I tried to learn how to cook his food, but it wasn't the way his mum would do it, for example.
Goodness.
That would cause a problem.
Yeah.
So it seems like a small thing, but all these small things started to add up, because we hadn't addressed it.
Yeah.
Perhaps in dating, if I'd invested time to get to know what he likes to eat, for example, and try to, to see if I could make it. And you could look back and think, oh my gosh, the stuff I should have done. I should have seen him at his weakest points and seen if this is the kind of person I would want to spend the rest of my life with. But
by then it was too late.
It was too late.
And then what happened? Because there was a day that it all came crashing down.
We'd have like 2 days really good or really horrible day, 2 days really good. It was like you were living like that. It's kind of 2 days really good, 1 day, and you'd be living for the 2 days that would be really good. But every week would have some sort of argument, some kind of, explosion of some sort. It was terrible. But then we'd make up. And then it would be like, everything's fine, we're going to start again. No, you're going to change, no, I'm going to change. It was like that. And then one day I came home, I'll never forget, and his bags were packed, had everything packed. He never gave me any sign that this is what he was going to do. And when I walked through the door, he was very surprised, because I think he didn't expect me to come home at that time. And then he just said to me, look, Shireen, I'm leaving. I just don't love you anymore. I really thought about it, and I really just need to go. And I froze, because I couldn't believe it was happening. I think I even laughed, and then I said, no, what are you doing?
How long were you actually married for at this point?
At this point, we're married for 2 years.
Right,
So it's been 2 years of, you know, this on and off cycle.
Okay.
And he basically left. I just remember, all I can remember, because it was such a traumatizing experience, I can't actually remember much of that time. I just remember throwing myself at his feet and saying, please don't leave me, don't leave me. And he still left. His brother came and he left, and that was it. And I didn't hear from him for weeks. He was gone.
That's awful.
It was
Because out of the blue, and then just to come home. All right, it wasn't out, I suppose out, when I say out of the blue, you were having problems,
We
but
were,
not,
yeah.
you weren't thinking to that extent where he would just pack bags like that and just leave.
No,
How
you
did that
always
make you
believe-
feel? How was it soon after that?
I think, to be honest with you, the first thing, Chris, I was in denial. So to be honest with you, I spent the whole night crying, and then I believed that I'd wake up and he'd be next, and this would be some bad dream. So I did have many nights of believing this was pure denial.
Yeah.
I didn't tell anyone just because I thought he's going to come home. I'd be calling him, texting him, please, let's talk, da, da, da. I think for about 2 weeks I did this. I didn't tell anyone.
Not even your family members?
Not even my family.
Wow.
I couldn't. That was the worst. I didn't want to tell my family. They would go mad. They would want to kill him. So this is our issue. And don't forget, Chris, people before had always said, don't marry him.
Had they?
Yeah, I had those warnings before. Don't marry him. You guys are too young. You're not thinking. You have to think about the future. What is he going to bring to the table? What are you going to bring to the table? It wasn't just about him. It was about also me. What was I going to bring to the table? They just didn't think it was. Some of my family members didn't think it was the right time, and they were
Maybe
right.
because obviously there are people that do get married young,
Yes.
but they're mature.
Exactly.
And they talk about stuff. But
Exactly.
when you're already like maybe immature, you don't discuss important things. That's like a
Indeed.
recipe for disaster.
It was, but we couldn't see it at that time.
Yeah.
So I was never going to now go back to my family and say, actually, you're right, he's walked out. I was just trying to quickly patch things, try to get him back, sort things out before.
What was that
we
doing to
had
you
to
mentally though?
escalate.
Because you were suffering on your own.
Chris, I was in turmoil. I was in absolute turmoil. But like I said, it was a mixture of denial and I'm going to get him back. Because it was kind of like a false hope and denial mixed at the same time. So I was kind of, no, I'm going to get, and when he comes back, my thoughts started to change. Like, when he comes back, I'm going to change. I'm going to be like this and I'm going to be like this. I just need to find out what I did wrong. That's what I kept on texting. What did I do wrong? If you just tell me what it is, I'll change. I'll change. I just remember that's all I kept on saying to him. Then I would have this false hope that he's going to walk through the door and he's going to find me like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and everything's going to be fine. But he just didn't come back. He didn't come back until later when we did meet. And then it was good because he finally said to me, look, I really just want a divorce now. I want to start over.
When you heard that word?
That was it. No, I broke down. I broke down because then I realised at that point he was not going to fix this. Until we had met, there was hope.
Okay.
And that hope was my adrenaline. It was what was keeping me
It's a
going.
bit like someone that has a family member that's gone missing.
Yeah.
And they don't know what's happened to them and they always kind of expect them to walk back through the door, but then they discover a body and then they know
Exactly.
it's kind of over. So it's that kind of feeling like
It was
over.
like death to me, to be honest.
Yeah.
That word divorce was like death. It was like, but then I could see him. And then suddenly, Chris, my feelings of hope then started turning to hatred.
Really?
Yeah, because I was just like, how on earth would you do this to me? Why? What have I done? I haven't done anything. And he would be like, you haven't done anything. And he would cry and you haven't done anything. And I'd be like, no, I have. If you could just tell me, I'll change it. You haven't. It's just, we want to live two separate lives. I want to go this way and you want to go this way and it doesn't work. And I said, no, we can make it work. So it was this going around, still begging him to change. And there came to a point then I realised that it was enough was enough.
Wow. Powerful stuff. Okay, well, Shireen, you're going to stay with us because after the break, we're actually going to be joined by a friend of yours, Lisa Marie, who's also going to be telling us her experience, what she went through as well, getting married and then getting divorced. So don't go away. Hi, I'm Chrissy B and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Welcome back everyone, and we are talking about divorce on today's programme and more specifically life after divorce. And now we're joined by Lisa Marie Bradnock, Hello, my love.
Hi.
Nice to have you on the show. Now, both of you are very good friends as well.
Yes, we are.
They were having a good old natter. Both went through a really similar experience, unfortunately.
Yeah, we did, and literally about a year of each other. So we got married almost exactly 1 year of each other, and then the marriage breakup exactly almost 1 year as well.
Gosh.
So yeah.
So tell us about your experience. You met this guy you thought was the man of your dreams, did you?
Yeah, do you know, it's kind of similar to what Shireen was saying, because I met him in the youth group as well. And again, it was my first boyfriend, first real relationship. And I really, when I was growing up, didn't really think a lot about myself in terms of self-esteem or think I was pretty or anything like that. And so he was paying attention to me, and this was my boyfriend, like, oh my gosh, wow, you know. So I guess some of the things that I may have, I wouldn't accept now, I would have kind of overlooked or glossed over. So same like Shireen, it was more about in the moment and us being together, and you know, this is not usually the norm for young people.
So was it like, in your case, was it like, well, there's someone that likes me at last, maybe in your head, so I better grab onto him, even though I'm not that into him, but let me grab onto him because...
I kind of was, because there was a lot of people as well that actually quite liked him.
I remember.
He was, he was like very popular. So it's like, even, you know, it's kind of, wow, he likes me, you know, kind of thing as well. But we did get along. We did sort of like, he was good friends with my brother. Before that, so we knew each other, I'd say about a year or two before we actually started dating. So I did like him. I did find him really attractive. We got on well. We, you know, good sense of humour. So we vibed well off each other. So he seemed to be into, you know, same things I was, but I didn't think enough about the long term, our future goals, where we wanted to go to together. I knew that we wanted to have children, but in terms of what were we doing with our careers, what was our vision? And I don't remember having that conversation either about what's going to happen for the long term plans. It was very short term. And even though I was young, because I'm the eldest child like Shireen, but I was always very mature. So my mum had no problem with me getting married because
So you didn't have that pressure from family like Shireen did?
Well, a little bit from his mum, actually. But I think, looking back, that was more because she was thinking he wasn't ready either. Like he wasn't mature enough to lead the relationship the way where it was supposed to go to. And I guess we we're quite close in age, so it was less than a year apart. And I guess as well, because being the oldest one and being quite headstrong, being quite independent, for somebody that wasn't leading as well, I don't think that works as well for us within defining our own roles within marriage and what it was supposed to be as well. And so it was kind of like Shireen, it was good for the first few months. I'd probably say it's about the first year.
Did you have any doubts like Shireen did the night before, or like?
No, I didn't. I was, but again, I think that's probably because I was thinking short term and not long term. And as well, because I think quite possibly I didn't really become myself, who I am, until probably about 25, when you start to, you know, go through different life experiences and really know who you are and be able to, you know, as a woman, I'll stand for this, I'll stand for that, I am this person. And I think that, as I said, my earlier self-esteem issues probably then played a lot into that. So I wasn't thinking about that long.
So you started arguing or having problems, did you? Or was it like avoidance?
Again, sometimes we would be arguing. Then it became a thing where we weren't communicating well either. But again, maybe because we didn't learn those skills before we got married, how to communicate properly in a relationship, to deal with conflicts and things properly. So it's like the conflict we dealt with was maybe like his mum not really wanting to be on board as much, but it wasn't, there was nothing major, so we didn't really explore those kind of things.
When did it come to a head?
It was more him, really, was like he really changed from the person I knew when we got married, the kind of music he wanted to listen to, how he wanted to live his life. There'd be sometimes that he would go out, because he might work nights sometimes, but then I might not see him for 2 days.
Oh, wow.
And he was the one who was pushing more for a divorce, and I was like, or separation. And I was like, no, you know, because all I could think of was that's failure. And I would be like, you know, 23 and a divorcee. That's, to me, is just a label I didn't want, and all the connotations that come along with it. So But it got to a point where I was like, I can't take this anymore. You want to separate? I'm going to separate. Okay. And I then moved out myself.
Did you go through similar things as what Shireen was going through, or were you kind of like quite... Did you deal with it in a different way? Because Shireen, obviously, she fell apart because it was a bit of a shock and stuff. How did you handle it?
A little. It's a bit of both, because I think as well, a lot of people assume because I'm quite independent and they treat me as if I'm strong. So it was really hard sometimes to be that vulnerable in front of people, because I think people are just expecting you to get on with it, you know? But I did. There were times where I'd be like making prayers that were like, do you know, like, God, just take me, because I can't take this anymore. Like, literally, this is awful. It's not all the kind of Hollywood ideas that you have of what marriage is supposed to be. It's supposed to be wonderful and lovely, and like, I feel like I'm living in hell. And maybe it isn't, you know, as bad a situation as somebody who's obviously being abused or things like that, but the fact is that I was supposed to be part of a team, a part of a couple, but yet that was only in name only. I was by myself, and it just felt a really lonely place, a really very hard and difficult place. And there were times just crying and don't know how to deal with this.
Now when you separated as well from your ex, how did you cope with everyday life after that and what happened?
Again, it was hard because I still carry my married name, and so it's still Mrs. And, you know, but I'm not wearing any rings. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm having to then, it's almost deal with a shame, because when people see you that may not have known what's going on, their immediate thing is going to be, how's your husband? He's not my husband anymore, or we're separated. So it makes everything fresh every single time that you've got to do that. And I had a big wedding, so there were lots of people there. So it kind of felt that it was also like a public shame as well. And I was again trying to build myself up again, right, so then I've got to go back to being single, got to go back to, you know, finding out who I am again and dealing with this, because it's almost like a trauma, because you've, you know, wanted to be with someone and that's what you thought your life is going to be like, and then it's like, no, someone has hit a reset button, and you've got to think about what your life is going to be like going forward now. Now,
did you both sort of have time out, or like where you would work on yourselves and say, you know what, I'm not going to jump into anything new right now? Because obviously it's such a difficult thing to deal with, so many things related to it, like you said, like the shame, even though, you know, sometimes people are quite supportive, but you feel that inside. What did you do to kind of rebuild yourselves and just to make sure you were okay inside?
Okay. I think that the first thing after letting go was this thing that we needed to have a break, and we actually went on holiday. And that was so important because we got away from the whole situation and just had time to think. And I know that holiday we went to New York as friends was so important for me, because it was like the first holiday anyway that I'd been by myself, you know, not having him in my life again. And that's when I started to discover, actually, I like this kind of trip. Are there things in my life I want to do? Actually, what else do you want to do? What do you want to do, Shireen? You are more than this relationship. What about you? You never thought about yourself in the relationship. So it gave me that time to start thinking about myself. What is my goals? Who am I as a person? What do I really like? Because don't forget, I'd always just been with him. So I didn't get to know what it was to be by myself. I didn't know how to enjoy myself. And it's amazing how many people go through this where they don't know who they are. They kind of live for other people. If they don't,
sounds quite liberating, that trip.
It was very liberating, wasn't it? It was amazing.
Absolutely fantastic. And as well, you can kind of get perspective on the situation, and you can kind of look at it more objectively, you know, to see the lessons that you can learn from it. What can I take from that? You know, what are then my new standards going forward, not just for a new relationship, but for myself, you know, learn to love me and accept that, no, actually, I am quite fabulous, you know. Someone else would be lucky to have me, you know. But actually, as well, I'm fabulous by myself as well. I know who I am, and nobody else I will never let anyone else be able to take that power kind of away from me, to put me down in that way, you know. So it was a hard time, but also a really good time, and probably one of the, it turned out to be a really great experience, and one that, as I said, now has shaped things for the future.
Another thing was we had this love therapy sessions at our local health centre that I had to attend. And when I say had to, because we had a wonderful person who came to me and was like one of the mentors of the programme and said, you should attend that meeting. I was like, love life, not touching it. No. It's a great area for me. I'm not going there again. I'm going to just stay, because don't forget, I've got my newfound me and I'm kind of happy on my own. Don't want to be with anyone, thanks. And he's like, no, you should go. You still have things inside that I'm sure you need to heal. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to confront that. I'm okay, but I wasn't okay. And I remember going every Saturday to that meeting really helped me, because you cry on your own. You know, you've got the 4 walls and you cry. But I actually was able to speak to someone who would be objective, not a family member, not a friend, and just pour myself out and just cry and have someone listen to me. And that again was also very liberating for me, because after that I kind of was able to have closure. Because I don't know if it was because I just needed to say it out to someone else that wouldn't be like my mum, I'm going to kill him, this house making me feel I'm going to kill him. My sisters, how dare they, my friends, if I see him. Because at the same time as you know that the person's there's still a love for that person. It's weird, isn't it? It's like, I can say something negative about him, but I don't want anyone else to. So it's kind of weird. But so I could sit down and speak to someone and they would just be objective about it. And that was very liberating for me too. And I think that kind of helped kind of close that chapter in my life and make me realise that, I can start again. And like Lisa said, find someone new.
Girls, I'm going to keep you on, because after the break, I'm going to be giving some tips for our viewers on how to rebuild themselves after a breakup. And I might be asking for your input in each point. So you can give me a hand today. I normally do the tips on my own, but I can't let these two go because they've got a bit more to say. And I want to ask about their current status in love. Okay, so guys, don't go away, and I'll see you in just a moment. Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show, and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Welcome back, everyone. So today we've been speaking all about life after divorce, and I still have my lovely ladies with me here, Shireen and Lisa Marie, and I've kept them on because some of these points I'm going to go through now we've actually kind of touched on, but it's more like a recap and to re-emphasize some important things for you to move on after a breakup. So let's go first of all to my first point. And the first one is mourning is absolutely normal. So as Shireen quite rightly said, it felt like someone had died, right?
Yeah,
and that's how you felt inside.
And I think you have to give, you want to be this Wonder Woman and kind of get over it quickly. No, you have to give yourself time to let that person go.
Yeah.
So when you think usually you take about a year to plan to get married, so to do it afterwards to get over divorce, it's not going to be in 2 seconds.
No. Exactly. So there you have it. Obviously you didn't marry, or you didn't walk down the aisle with that person thinking, one day I'm going to divorce you. You married because you really believed that it would work and that you'd be together, for the rest of your lives. But even if you really wanted to split up yourself later, it's still a loss in your life. And psychologists even say that the emotions most people go through will be like those of grief. So, you will have this empty space for a while. There will be like there's something really big missing. So these feelings are perfectly normal, but you can get through them. Okay. Now the second point is, don't reject yourself. So people who get divorced, they often kind of feel that there's something wrong with them because they couldn't make a relationship work. And if this is how you actually feel, you need to work on your confidence. So of course you can learn from any mistakes that you maybe contributed to the relationship as well, but it's not healthy to keep feeling bad about yourself, because this also is going to lead on to my next point. But just before that, you kind of went through those kind of feelings, or if I didn't make it work, my marriage failed, there's something wrong with me.
And I don't want to try again. I don't want to go there. Obviously there's a problem with me, so therefore I'm just going to leave love life completely alone. And that's a wrong thought to have. You kind of imprison yourself.
And especially if you were like me, who in the beginning had low self-esteem issues, and then this is something that can completely, put you right back down to zero. But you have to realise that, you can't let that happen to you. Otherwise, you're cutting yourself off from every opportunity that there could be in the future.
And I think girls in general, right, us ladies, it's quite easy to sort of knock us down sometimes because of the emotions that we feel and like hormones sometimes.
Yeah. But again, you play things over in your head, and the song comes on like, oh no.
And you see something that reminds you of the person, it's like, oh no.
Or even it could be anyone just walking down the street, holding hands, and you're thinking, oh, not me anymore, all those kind of things.
But don't reject yourselves. Don't reject yourselves. No. Men, ladies and gentlemen, because obviously we have gentlemen watching this show as well. All right, let's go to the third point. which is to rediscover yourself. So maybe there were things that you actually stopped doing when you got married. So maybe you had all these hobbies, there were all these things that you like to do, places that you used to go to. And because your spouse maybe didn't enjoy those things, you never did them while you were married. So now it's a time to rediscover those things and, get back into doing things that you were doing before. And, it's really important because sometimes even if you're currently married, you should still do the things that you love to do, even if it's not with your spouse. So for example, I've asked my husband several times to go to the theatre with me, and he just keeps saying, no, I don't want to go, it's not something I'll do. So what do? Do I not go because my husband doesn't want to go? No, I go with someone that wants to go, so I go with my sister or some friends. So it's something that I like to do. I don't have to do everything with my partner. So you shouldn't kind of let yourself kind of down in a way, and you still need to enjoy and do things that you love to do, and regardless of whether your spouse likes it or not. So this is really important whether you're divorced or with someone. Do you agree, ladies?
Totally agree. You still need to realise that you have an identity.
Yeah.
And if you completely just make it all about that other person anyway, even if you are in a relationship, you lose everything about yourself. And that thing that maybe that person fell in love with to start with as well, you've taken that away. You've got to enjoy your life, and that you don't realise how much you add when you do that. For example, I've been on holiday a couple of days by myself. I went for 3 days to Barcelona in March, and it was great. No one else could go with me, so I was like, go by myself. But you might discover something that you're passionate about, painting, going to the gym, salsa. There's loads of different things.
Lots of things.
And to be honest with you, women who go through, we'll talk about women because we are women, who go through a divorce, there's such a strength that you find in yourself afterwards. And that needs to be celebrated. Like I remember, for example, even going to work after divorce, when I realised it was over, it was really hard. Because obviously people would be saying, where's he? What, are you okay? So I'm okay, stop asking me, I'm okay. That's what I felt like inside. But to be honest with you, to be able to put my makeup on and wear something really nice and go to work, I would celebrate. By the time I'd get home, I'd be like, well done, Shireen, you did it. You got through this day, 1 week, a month, 2 months. And it's important to have these little times that you celebrate your own little achievements, that you've made it. So that's also a part of the rediscovering yourself. I've done it. I can't believe I've got through this really hard time. And I can still smile. It's really important.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's go to the fourth point, which is to do something new. Again, something that we've already mentioned. So it's your chance to do something that you've always wanted to do, or even to experiment with things. So it could be, it could be as simple as a different hairstyle, or even going traveling as Shireen did to New York. Now, you might not be able to do everything you've always dreamed of. And, for example, if you've got kids, especially, and you've got commitments at work, you have to kind of be realistic about things. But there are things that you can do. So think about the kind of new stuff that you want to do that you've always kind of put on the back burner because maybe you didn't have time, or maybe you thought it wasn't you. Just try, because it's so, as we heard from Shireen, and both of you actually, it was liberating, wasn't it?
And I can say that my mum, for example, she decided to go to a salsa class with a friend. Never tried it before, and that was nearly 14 years ago. And she just celebrated her 4th wedding anniversary and the 14th year that she'd been with the person I now call my dad. And she met him at that class. Now, her friend pulled out at the last minute, but my mum still went by herself.
There you go.
And look, if she decided not to go, she'd never have then found that person. So you never know, what life can actually show to you and what you can discover.
It's true.
So I need to just add on to that, because funny enough, when she was speaking, I thought, I decided to go to the love therapy sessions, and that's where I found my husband.
Okay. Well, actually, we're getting on to that, because our 5th point is, let's see, guys, be open to a new relationship. Look, she's working perfectly this evening. So you didn't kind of shut yourself off, either of you, from like, no, do you know what? I never want to guy again. I'm not interested in relationships anymore because it was just too much. You got that healing, that inner healing, both of you. And when you discovered yourselves and you got confident within yourselves and you knew what you wanted out of a relationship and you knew what to look out for, the signs, that something is working, you decided that you were ready for love. Now, Shireen, you are now remarried. Tell us about that briefly.
So I met him at this love therapy session. It was 3 years after everything had happened. And to be honest, I was so busy doing so many things. I actually kind of found it hard to fit him into my life when he first came. I was like, oh my gosh. But to be honest with you, he's someone that compliments me and I compliment him. So I don't live for him per se. I compliment him and he compliments, and I just love the way that we bounce off each other.
How long have you been together?
We've been together for 8 years, married for 7. So we actually did get married quite quickly, but well thought of this time. Everything about goals.
Asked about the future and everything.
I wanted to see him at his worst points. I researched his family. I spoke to his family. I spoke to his friends.
Did you hire a detective, Shireen?
I did become like a detective, to be honest with you. And I always recommend that people do that because it's your love life. I mean, it's the biggest investment you're going to make in your life. So why not be like a detective? I want to know what are the horrible points about him. I wanted to know everything about him. So I wasn't. Of course, there's some shocks you can never, avoid. But the great majority of them, I felt like I already knew him because I'd done the research. I remember his mum saying that. I remember his friend saying that.
That's good.
And that is really important.
And you didn't have those jitters and jitters, like the breakdown before the wedding?
I knew all his uglies and I still loved him for it. So I think that's important to know the round, not just to see all the good sides of the person. You need to see everything about the person and decide what are the values that you can live with and the values that you can compromise and the values that you won't. So he didn't have, values that I just couldn't deal with. So that made him good marriage material for me.
Now, Lisa Marie, currently single.
I am.
But open to relationship.
Yes, single and looking, that's what I say. No, but what my experiences have shown me is what I will and what I won't accept, but also what I can bring to the table as well. Because, as I said, being objective and looking on what I've been through, I can see the mistakes that I also made and know what I can do then to help somebody else in the future. And I also go to the similar sessions that Shireen goes to as well, so that I can also learn, different things, because we can never stop learning. We can learn, from other people's examples, even other people's mistakes and my own mistakes, and can see what I can put into practice. And I've also, when I've spoken to a guy maybe a year or so ago, I could see already this isn't going to go anywhere because of the things that I've learned. So thinking about what we want from the future, what are the long-term goals, are these things, like Shireen said, the values that I can live with or overlook or can't accept? So, it's really helped me for the future.
Oh, that's great to hear. Ladies, thank you so much. It's been lovely having you both on, and I'm so happy. And this is just proof to everyone at home that, even if you have been through a terrible divorce, it was something that you never imagined would ever happen, but you can get through it. And as these two young ladies did, and there is life after divorce, and there's especially happiness after divorce. All right, guys? So I hope you've benefited from the show today, but if you have a story or an experience that you'd like to share, do visit our website, chrissybshow.tv. You can also tweet us at Chrissy B Show or visit our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. So we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye for now.